Hello there, traders. Hello there, traders. Welcome back to the TOGS Trading Podcast. This is TOGS 43, okay? And it's going to be probably a short one because it's all about, is it worth trading through August? All right, appreciate we're in August at the moment. Many of you will be trading. Many of you will have given the screens a miss as you're away on holiday. So hopefully what we can do today is by the end of the session, you can just have a little bit of better insight into whether you personally should be trading through August or whether you should be using it as an opportunity to do other things. Okay. So as always, I am joined by Big Ian there in Dublin. So
Hello.
looking good, Billy Ray. How are you
Thanks
doing?
very much. Getting over a cold, actually. I was down in Mayo at a funeral last weekend and
Oh,
caught a cold. So
mm,
I'm mostly over it. It's just whatever, slightly under the weather. That's about it. At least it's not
right.
also wine flu on top of it, but rather
Yeah,
whiskey
not
flu
not
actually.
a not your normal wine or whiskey flu and stuff or
Yeah.
whatever. Well,
Uh,
a few hot whiskies will sort out the end of the cold for you and stuff. You'll be grand.
well, I've nothing in the house actually except a bottle of bloody bourbon, and it's whatever Jack Daniel's single barrel, which is actually really quite nice. I bought it in a Germany on the way back. And but you wouldn't put that in a. It wouldn't be the right
Yeah.
whiskey for that for a hot.
For those listening to the audio podcast, they won't be able to see me kind of sort of turning up my nose at the thought of drinking Jack Daniels to sort out your colds and stuff
Well,
or whatever. You know,
I'm just saying it's the
you need
single
a
barrel one.
decent
It's
single.
not. It's the single barrel one. It's not the ordinary stuff that they have because Jack Daniels would not just ordinary Jack Daniels would not be a preferred whiskey. Let's put it that way. It's
No, no.
yeah.
Each their own, of course, each their own and stuff. And I'm
Mm,
sure, and listen, trust me, I worked with the US Marines many years ago, and there was a constant stream of Jack Daniels and Coke and stuff and what have you
mm,
from them. Until that is, we taught them all about how to drink fine Scottish single malt instead and stuff. And suddenly they saw the error of their ways,
yeah.
and then it was yeah, everything was good. But anyway, well, all right, well,
Mm,
you've clearly had an eventful week or so
mm,
there and stuff with colds
mm.
and funerals and the like and such. So yeah, anything else been going on? And have you kind of leading in? Have you been doing much trading yourself recently?
No, I haven't. I've been off for the basically off. Effectively off for the last 6 weeks, 2 months, something like that.
Right.
Just the way that the summer worked out. I was away in Germany. I was away. Then I was down. I was here for a week on my own, which is the one week I did actually do a lot of
Yeah.
work. Then I was in Cove in Cork for a week, and then I was in Mayo for a week, and then I during that one of my aunts died, and then I had to come back to Dublin, drop my son off, and then go back to a funeral. So I kind of missed quite a. Today is my first proper, what I would consider my first proper day back of the after the summer break. Um, so I was just setting
Uh,
up my charts and doing all that kind of stuff this morning. Getting ready,
yeah.
watching my setup.
So we're recording this kind of like Wednesday 20th of August. Okay, it'll come
Yeah,
out in a couple of days, but we're recording it Wednesday 20th of August, and it kind of leads us into, well, clearly you've had a bit of a break, but
yeah,
ultimately, do you think it's worth trading through August? What are your thoughts, Ian?
yeah. I don't. Well, frankly, I think it depends for most people because like an awful lot of traders take this time off, but I think traders tend to take big blocks of time off anyway. An awful lot of
Yeah,
traders, would take a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever length of time because trading is a performance business. So, you need to take that time for yourself. You are the engine of your business. And then September is traditionally the busiest time of the year, really, and that's just around the corner. And August, I think August has. Now, I didn't trade much this August, but usually I would, and I wouldn't have a big problem with it. The 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 things that I see that are a problem is the volumes are down, which means that you have front runs and breaks a lot more. Some days are, just dead, absolutely dead. There was Monday, there was just completely dead. Um, you also get distracted by things like the weather. I mean, you're sitting in a job. I live in Dublin, so there isn't that many sunny days, and you're sitting in your office. So, you want to take that. I like the sun. You want to take those days that you want to take those opportunities to get out in the sunshine. Uh, I find this time of year tends to be a little less technical. For some
Hmm.
of the setups, it tends to be like
Yeah.
I was sitting there this morning,
Right.
and sometimes it takes a long time. It can be very slow to get something if you're waiting like this morning, I'm waiting all morning for double bottom. That
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been up there for 40 minutes now, so it could have double bottom by now, but I've been sitting there waiting for double bottom all morning. And normally you'd have that knocked out by this time of the day. There is news now come up. There's whatever the call, there's news out at 7 o'clock this evening, but you don't have that knocked out at this time of day. You usually have one morning trade, which is usually a lot of the time it's just simply a double bottom. Yeah, and you tend to get that quite often, but this morning it's all front run. And because the volatility is down a lot of the time, the setups themselves tend to be smaller, and that means your risk reward, because you still have the same risk. At least I do anyway. I used to have the same risk regardless of the trade that I'm doing. Um, but I don't always have the same reward. So if I was going
Yeah.
into a swing trade, I'm going to enter it in exactly the same way as I would enter a day trade with the same stop loss. But it doesn't necessarily mean that but obviously then the reward is much higher, is much further away. And but it's a great time of year for doing, office keeping. I learned a lot of stuff in the last 6 weeks because I wasn't working and I was sitting down. I was doing an awful lot of stuff with a phone or, grabbing a laptop here and there. And, I'm sort of filled up with new ideas for the coming financial
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So it's because I really realized when I was off that how much overtrading reality
So
that I do. I do quite, and I can't call, it's not overtrading in the fact that I'm losing money doing it, but I'm working too hard. And I always had a suspicion of that. And then I was sitting there with my telephone, eating ice cream and watching setups on fire and realizing that I just really should just do that one setup, but like a double bottom, just do your double bottom and go and enjoy your life because you can do it at any size if you want to, so it's and instead I was doing a lot of scalping and working and stress and whatever else. So that was the main thing I took away from this summer season.
there's a fair bit there. There's a fair good bit there, and you're right. It might sound like we're sitting on the fence a bit, but it does depend upon personal circumstances,
Yeah.
And you make a very good few points there. Certainly, um, it used to be, all right. It used to be, being the dinosaurs we are. It used to be that literally after the first couple of days of August, it would go completely. It would go. Markets would go completely dead, But that is
Mm,
not the case anymore. And certainly the last two summers, this one and last summer, we have had a volatile end of July, and sometimes that is because of geopolitical events. Sometimes that is because big boys are just literally trimming their positions or taking their profits because they are clearing off to their yachts off Saint Tropez and stuff for the month, or the big institutions, basically the big boys are on holiday and stuff, and it's the intern basically managing the desk, or well,
mm.
it's not that bad, but you know what I mean
Yeah.
in that sense. But
Mm, trading.
the certainly it used to be much clearer that in terms after about the third, fourth day of August, like literally that kind of last three and a half weeks of the month, just really nothing
Mm,
happened. Um, that's not the case, and part of that is because this year, in particular, you've had those geopolitical events going on in terms of all the
mm,
tariff shenanigans have been going on. You've got the geopolitical events as we've seen, like from Ukraine, okay, and Gaza and elsewhere. And then also, just general kind of bit of manicness by people and stuff. Just a bit of
mm,
people are just going a bit stupid and stuff. And also because the technology now is
mm,
it enables you to trade constantly, like you just mentioned there, when you should be enjoying a bit of time in the sun, eating your ice cream, you're allowed to basically, you can, in fact, be watching charts. But as I've always been said about this, just because the technology enables you to trade doesn't actually mean you should be trading. So,
mm,
certainly for myself, from kind of like mid July onwards, what I do is I tend to trim my size and also trim my profit targets. That's generally what happens and stuff. And so normally I will constantly go on about how I'm always looking for asymmetric reward to risk on intraday basis. I'm always looking for asymmetric reward to risk ratio. But if it's like 1 to 1, 1.2 to 1, I will happily have that. Okay, during this particular period, because I know either as you mentioned before, the market just grinds. It just basically
Mm.
grinds, or it makes a move, but then it just reverts into the range very, very quickly. You find very much more that you have, well, in my experience, you will have volatility spikes. So the market does nothing. There's a bit of news or something happens, and the market will spike up quickly, which if you're not already in the position, and I wouldn't be, because I don't just sit there in a position, in the middle of the range hoping for price to basically carry me
Mm.
off. That's not my style of trading. So, but if you sat in the middle of the range, you get a volatility spike, and then actually what I'm probably looking to do is to basically trade the sort of return to the range, because if that happens a good deal more during this kind of, let's say, end of July into August, even perhaps sometimes the kind of the first week of September, that particular period. So as I said, I kind of trim my size, and I trim my profit targets to basically to adapt to the new scenario. Okay, it's if you're the old adage. Let's just say you're hammering away, normally looking for a 3 to 1 reward to risk. Um, I'm not saying that isn't feasible, but the likelihood is you're gonna struggle with that, because they are much slower markets, the much grinder markets. You are waiting and hoping that there will be some news or something to cause a bit of volatility spike that will take you to your targets, and that to me that's not smart trading. All right, kind of hoping that something happens to take your position to target is not that's not smart trading. It's very much like a boxer's jab. All right, in, take your shot, get out, run away bravely, and your job is done. All right. If you're going to be trading during this particular period and such, and so yeah, as I said, the technology enables you to do that, and so we find ourselves in a kind of it's kind of a blended life. You explained it well there, all right, in terms of a blended life of you can sit having an ice cream while still looking at the charts.
Mm.
That's not my style personally. I'm on the bus or I'm off the bus. I find that having very simple boundaries like that tends to help me sort of so either I am trading or I'm not trading. Now that doesn't mean that you can't be working on your trading business, just because you might not be just in August. You might not be trading, but that doesn't mean you can't be doing some work on your trading business, like the admin, the paperwork, ideas, getting yourself ready for the last few months of the year. But yeah, I generally tend to be on the bus or off the bus. I don't. I find I operate better when I've got very clear boundaries. As I said, that's my personal experience. I know many others would differ to that.
Mm. It's one of the things I have to say with modern technology that I find it is a real pain. Like, because even when I have people around here, for dinner or something like that, or we're having whatever it is, I tend to find a lot of the time, they're having to send an email, they're having to, even myself, I was replying to a work email in the middle of a dinner party there one of the days, which is just ridiculous, I think. One of the things, the other thing too, as well with August, is that for a lot of people like me, your children are off school,
Yep.
and your wife wants to go on holidays, and the weather is nice, so there's a lot of pull you away from the screen factors. Like I have there's the whole childcare element that's a huge big thing. And the problem with trading, and I think an awful lot of entrepreneurship in general, is that you tend to be the flexible one. So you'll do the flexibility. So for
Yeah.
example, today the
Yeah.
open is at 2:30 in my time. And I'm have to be up picking a guy up from karate camp. Then I have to drive him down to buy hockey socks and a gum shield. And and then it's back in to try and see if I can get something out of the 7 o'clock news.
Yeah.
So, that's the thing. In the practical sense as well, just where you're talking about that, when it gets rangy like that, and like real tight ranges, I find it really hard. You can't move your stop. And
Yeah.
that to me is more stressful than anything else, because what you find a lot of the time is that you have your bottom, your low at the bottom of a small range or area within which you expect a turn to happen, and then you have the target. And price invariably goes from the bottom to the top, but it could take all day, even if it's only 15 points, 10, 15 points wide. It could take all day. And in that time, you can't really move your stop because it's coming back and attacking and going up again and coming back and attacking and going up again and then goes up a little more and comes back a little less and then whatever. Is this real? But it's a real slow grind. And it's you get caught on days like that. Those are really difficult days because like it's like this morning, I'm sitting around waiting for this double bottom to occur because there is nothing to do. There is either go to the top of the range and then we can see if I can short it back down to the double bottom, or it's going to be or else it's going to eventually come back down to the double bottom and we'll see if it'll turn there. So and everything else that happens in between is a low probability. You can do it, you can scalp it, but it's all low probability. It's all work. It's all just crap. So so I find that those things that's bad about August. But I would always try and work because I find personally, if I take too long of a break and I go and I do something else for too long and I come back to trying to trade again, I'm off.
Yeah.
I'm I can't remember what to do, because you have to reaccess that part of your brain, to get back to doing it again. And then, there's a whole formal rigmarole. You go back in and it's like today's small size for me, day because it's my first proper day back. And it'll be like that now pretty much for the rest of the week. It'll all be small size, careful trading, certain setups. That's basically it. There's a 3 day re-entry into the whole trading sphere as a job. So that's one reason why I don't take too much time off. I would look at charts when I'm away. Um,
Yep.
and then the other thing as a trader, you just end up watching charts because that's what you do. That's where you're, it's not like I trained as an accountant for 3 years, and that is one dull job. There's no way I'm going to look at a bloody balance sheet when I'm on my holidays because what's it going to do for me? You know, our balance sheet that I would agree is I might look at a company's balance sheet if I wanted to read them, but it's sometimes I think looking at charts is just a form of entertainment because it also I find trading sometimes really relaxing. So, you're stressed, you're doing something else, you're sitting on the beach, it's all boring. So you want to relax because it automatically takes all your focus. You put a chart up there, it'll take all my focus.
That's interesting. Yeah,
Mm,
I, I would agree with you in the sense of I never bore of looking at charts. I love
yeah.
looking at charts. No, I never get bored, and I'm happy. Literally, I can actually
Mm,
quite happily sit for 6 hours going through charts and back testing ideas and just literally absorbing it. I love it. I never ever get bored of it.
mm,
But equally, I also know that I need a break. I need actually time to basically mentally and emotionally and spiritually sort of recharge, etc. So, interestingly, what I have been doing a lot this August for myself is I have been reading quite a few books and working through a couple of workshops on enhancing my intuition, basically building trust and strength in my intuition, and
mm,
I'm doing that for myself. But I know there will be a knock-on impact to my trading down the pathway and stuff as well. So
mm,
I see that as I'm still working on my trading business, but it's a very, very different way. But
mm,
you did make a good point there, especially for intraday traders. If you do take a break, all right, and I would always suggest you do take a break. Is that yeah? Don't launch yourself back in like gungo full size on your first day back because that is a temptation because you've been away for a couple of
mm,
weeks. You're feeling fantastic. You're feeling refreshed, renewed. You want to enter the fray and you want to get stuck in. And you perhaps don't understand that as an intraday trader your skills do atrophy very, very quickly,
mm.
very, very quickly. You sense the market, you're reading the market, your ability to get into connection with the market, it disappears very, very quickly. And me being me, it is another reason why I kind of effectively always go on about people about building checklists, because not only do they basically help you stop making silly mistakes when you are trading, but actually when you return after a break, it helps spool you up quicker, because you just literally just bang get back into it until it becomes automatic response. And so you're doing the smart thing of having 3 days of just literally small size, careful trading. And I would also add to that, this is why checklists help you get back up to that. Just stop you missing that one thing, because you will. All right.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
human. You've been away.
Mm.
You'll miss think. All right. And once again, a checklist can help you with that and stuff. So yeah. So I would definitely commend that. If you haven't, listen, if you're not trading, it might well be that you do stuff like that, like you build structures into your trading business, things like checklists and routines. If you haven't already, I would hope you have already, but if you haven't, use the time wisely and stuff. So yeah, but no, to come back, I love looking at charts, but I don't have any. I don't have any on my phones, and I have one of my devices. I have like one of the kind of Amazon Kindles and stuff. So actually, and there is nothing trading related on it at all.
Mm.
So there's no YouTube on it. So I can read kind of fiction, not non-fiction books, history books. Um, I can watch some crappy TV or a movie and stuff. Where there's nothing trading related at all. So actually, I can go away for a few days and just literally have no connection to it, because I know that that break it actually it keeps me engaged in terms of keeps me interested, but it also keeps me kind of helps refresh myself, helps me manage myself better, especially when yeah especially when the markets can be a bit dead. You're right, Monday's just dull, and that's another thing, is that you can be sat there all day and nothing happens and stuff and whatever, and you're like, I think we've had this conversation before. I rarely go away kind of in July, August, because actually, what I mean by going away, as in flying somewhere far away, because
Mm.
actually I think July and August, UK and Ireland, they are at their best. So why would
Mm.
I pay silly money in the kids' holidays to go far away to where it's hot, where everybody else has gone, when in fact, actually, July and August is, the UK and Ireland are its best. So, I just generally tend to go away for a couple of days here, a couple of days there, go back to the farm, and just go away and enjoy that. And then actually, I'll look to take sort of longer term breaks in terms of going somewhere sunny in like November and January, February, when the weather's god awful miserable here and stuff. So yeah, enjoy the nice weather whilst you can, because it'll be November before you know it, won't it?
Nearly November here today. It's actually not a particularly nice day. But I think it also as well, an awful lot of people have to take holidays in
Yeah,
August. There's a lot of companies that they tend to run around that sort of thing. So I think it depends on who's in your life. It doesn't affect me. As my wife would be able to take holidays when she wants to take holidays, but there's a lot of people who would. I think I'd panic if I was away from work for too long. I think I just get really uncomfortable not working. But that was always a thing, because I always have a big workaholic thing that I managed to kind of get past mostly. But it's like an anorexic person will always be skinny. They mightn't necessarily be completely anorexic, but I would have been quite a workaholic at one point, and I still wouldn't be 100% over
yeah,
workaholism. I also tend to be quite an intuitive trader, and I'm at my best when I feel the market rather than react to some line, because I just don't. And I mean, intuitive trading is effectively price action trading. That's what it basically is, because I think it's what it is that you're switching off a part of your logical brain when you're watching a chart, and you're just you're just feeling what should come up next, because if you're doing it for long enough, you kind of know. It's like if you see a bear flag, you know, there's
hmm
there's a bear flags only generally there's only three ways a bear flag can resolve. So it's either going to pop out the bottom and meander down. because everybody knows that it's a bear flag and it's going to that nobody's that excited. Nobody really needs to get in, and it just does the next leg or the next measured move or whatever it is. Uh, it could double bottom theoretically, but I make a H, H pattern and do whatever from that. And or else if it pops out the top, it'll pop out with energy because it's trapping. It has to show because it's not a continuation pattern anymore. It's trapping people who are short
Yeah.
to add fuel to the fire and so on and so forth. And you sort of, just before sometimes when those breakouts happen and things, you can sort of feel the excitement by looking at by whatever way you're looking at the chart. The last thing I'd say about it is just that is there's an anchor, the neuro-linguistic programming, and there's this concept of anchors. And I'm a big believer in that. Like I used to work in a wine shop years ago, and you could be hungover and tired and cranky and just disinterested and whatever else, while you're standing at the counter. And then as soon as somebody would come in, I used to clap my hands gently together, and that was my signal to myself that I had to switch on myself and then go over and deal with that person in a particular way. And I found it as well when I grew up on a farm and there was something distasteful, like there was a lot of distasteful jobs to do on a farm.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and there's definitely an anchor. You can build an anchor for yourself in that, so that when you have to go and do this distasteful job, you switch into that anchor. I always think of them as records. You put on that record, and then you go and you do that particular whatever task. Because throughout history, there's loads of anybody who goes to up close war, for instance, if you're a camp guard in one of these Auschwitz type places,
It's taking a turn.
yeah, yeah. Well, my wife used to work in Sachsenhausen concentration camp, as a tour guide, at one point. To do that thing means that you have to act in a way that's not normal, and so there has to be some sort of part of you that you have to access to do those incredibly horrible things, which I think most people are actually capable of doing because I think it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to kill 1,000 people than it is to trade. So
Well, I'll put that in as a quiz at the end of this
I mean,
podcast.
it's
What do you think is
3,000 rounds in
easier?
a machine gun,
Right. Are
that's
you
not.
okay there, Ian? Yeah. Do we need
Yes,
to arrange an intervention for you? Are you okay there, fella?
absolutely fine. But yeah, so I'm just saying is that everybody, like, that's what I'm trying to show is that people have these different tracks within them, and they can
Yeah.
access them to do things that are difficult or disgusting or whatever, and you can do that with trading. There is a trigger, there's a anchor inside you that you have to access, and sometimes I find when I come back, it's hard to, if I take too much time off, it's hard to access that again, and that means that basically it just takes time. It just takes time to get back to it, and you're you're not at your very best as a trader until you do that. Because if I don't have that intuitive side switched on, then I'm
Yeah.
concentrating. I'm just using lines like everybody else. I lose a large part of my edge, and a large part of my edge is my intuition, to be quite honest. At the end of the day, I have my setups that work, but it's the intuition that picks them. It's the intuition
Okay.
that manages them and experience that manages them. So
And I would think, well, I've always said is that, your intuition is probably probably takes you about 10 years, really. Now, I'm sure there'll be
oh
people
yeah.
who'll do it much faster, there'll be people who'll do it much slower, but as a rule of thumb, you need about 10 years experience to sort of be an intuitive trader. As I said, it will differ for individuals, but as a rule of thumb, and
Yeah.
this is where, and I can't remember if we've done so many podcasts now, whether we've done one on whether trading is an art or a science, but this for me is where, at the start of the game, you are very much trading as a science, as in you are understanding risk management, you are understanding checklists, you are building self trust in
Mm.
yourself and your ability to do. But actually, as you go through from being that mechanical trader to a subjective trader to moving towards being an intuitive trader operating at levels of just basically unconscious competence, and it takes a good while. And you're right that it takes a while, and B, if you step away from it, you will that fades. That's you get skill fade, but the thing is, if you overtrade, if you don't take a break, you will get skill fade as well from just basically burning out, especially as an intraday trader. Even you and I, we love it, don't we? We absolutely love it. We meet up and go for a pint. We're talking about trading and stuff. We love it. It's a passion. You can't live without it. But even that is, if you're not taking a break, you increase the likelihood of you basically spannering it up just through burnout and over trading. And so, if you are taking a break in August, don't feel that you are missing out or that you are not a proper trader or you're whatever. It becomes into that fourth M of managing yourself, and the way you do that is it's very personal. You need to know what works for you and what doesn't, and if you need to take a month off, all right, do that. Okay, do that. You won't regret it. Okay, you won't regret it. You can just basically reset. Kind of review how the year's gone so far, and then basically get ready to come back in September. Because I think the end of this year is going to be pretty tasty. There's going to be a fair bit going on and stuff, and so you want to be in a position where you can take the most of that, don't you?
Yeah, whichever way it goes. I was
Yeah,
just thinking about that. Well, first of all, missing out on things, you never really miss out on anything. It just wasn't meant for you, and that's basically it. There's always something else coming along in
yeah,
trading, and it's more about your edge and yourself than it is about
totally.
the individual trade. And it's one of the things that's been an expensive lesson to learn is that an individual trade is not anything. It's nothing.
Yeah,
Um,
just a data point. Yeah,
and I think
and
people are afraid when it comes to intuition. I think one of the biggest problems that people have with intuition is fear because and simplicity. One
mhm.
is it's really hard to get your head around that trading is not that complicated.
Yeah,
Because what you're basically doing is price can do three things in a day, it can go up and go down and go sideways. That's it. There's nothing else. Um, it can go down aggressively, like you could have a flash crash. It could go up aggressively because you might have some fantastic news, or the range when it goes sideways could be tiny, like a heartbeat thing. But that's basically it's up, down, or sideways. And it's sometimes when I'm talking to people or mentoring people, it's as simple as trying to say, is the price going up? Can you see on the chart, is the price physically going up? And they're like, yeah, well then you're in now what? It's an uptrend. So what do you do in an uptrend? You buy pullbacks or
yeah,
breakouts, whatever suits you. And it's just trying to get that sort of like to build that trust in intuition and to because if you make it really simple, is price going up or is price going down or is price going sideways? You don't need to use a huge amount of intuition and you don't need to complicate it. You just need to know to look at something and oh, I looks like price is going up. And if you have some mechanical skill, like some technical skill behind that, where targets are and where targets are and where support is. So if you have support, it generally tags corresponding resistance someplace else. So now you have an idea where price is going technically, and then you just do that.
yeah,
It's really not that. It's like when you see all these guys with seven indicators on their charts. I think that's and an awful lot of professional traders might have one indicator, usually an oscillator. In my experience, I don't know. That's because they're too afraid of intuition. It's such a search for safety, and I think the biggest thing that holds most traders back is this search for safety. They're looking to be safe, to be certain, and they want this absolute certainty. And then the trading press is a bit bad for that because it says, we say if you have a setup that works 7 out of 10 times and yields whatever it's going to yield, um, that doesn't mean it's going to yield it all at the same time. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that easy flow of. So if you did 20 trades, you could win 7 times, lose 3 times of that in a row of that one of that thing, and then lose the 3 of the next one, which now you have 6 losses in a row, and then do 7 more trades, and then it might even get more mixed up than that. You could have 9 losses in a row. Anything basically.
Well, I'd say it's probably clearly because we've veered way off the subject matter that about
Oh
trading
yeah,
norms, but clearly we
yeah,
should do a session just on intuition and trading, shouldn't we?
yeah,
We'll do a complete session on intuition because
yeah.
actually because we should draw it to a close because the next podcast TOGS 44 is actually almost at the opposite end of intuition trading, namely. It's all
Yes.
about can you use AI to do your trading for you? You
Yeah.
are probably like me. Every other bloody advert on social media is for someone offering, some AI wonder weapon that is going to basically sort of do all your trading for you and make your money quickly and easily for you and stuff. So I hope that you will join us for that because we
Mm.
will put that to we'll put that to the test. But yeah, we should probably draw it to a close
Yeah.
there, Ian. Okay, this was supposed to be a short one, but as always, once we get started,
Mm.
that's the challenge, isn't it? Well, we just like talking about trading and markets and such. So,
Mm.
any final comment from yourself, Ian, before we wrap up?
No, nothing that I can think of. I mean, I could talk for another half an hour about any old crap, really. To be honest with you. But maybe I find
Really,
some
I
segment
mean,
about it that I could have. See.
you've,
What do you
you've
do with
managed
turkey
to
go
you've
while
managed
you're
to fit
trading?
in talking about killing people. Auschwitz. You
Yeah,
there's a wide spectrum of topics
yeah.
we've brought into today's session. But
Yes.
anyway, so listen,
It's all right.
let's draw it to a close whilst we're ahead, whilst we
Yeah.
still have some listeners. And as I said, hopefully you'll join us for TOGS 44, talk about AI in trading. Listen, if you are taking a break, if you're listening to this whilst you're on your holiday on the beach somewhere, just enjoy it. All right, just enjoy it. The markets will still be there when you come back. All right. If you are working through August, as we said right at the start, just tread carefully, all right. Just tread carefully, all right, and adapt to the to the environment that you find yourself in. Okay. So as always, all right. Thanks very much for joining. Thanks very much for listening. Thanks very much for all your likes and your comments, etc. We always do appreciate it, and I hope you have a fabulous week trading or a fabulous week on holiday, wherever you're doing in your August. Hope you're enjoying it, and we will speak to you soon, everybody. Thanks very much, and trade well. Cheers.
Bye bye.